Well, as if pandemic recovery for businesses wasn't challenging enough, the Biden administration sure isn't making it any easier. Beginning in January, the president is mandating companies with 100 or more workers require vaccinations or test their unvaccinated employees weekly. Otherwise, they face thousands of dollars in fines. Let's bring in Hog Technologies owner James Crocker and Dickies BBQ CEO Laura Ray Dickey. Good morning to both of you. So,
good morning.
This is a big burden, I would assume, as a business here. You now have to make sure everyone is vaccinated or implement weekly testing, and the fines, they're pretty stiff. James, is this something that is feasible? What will the implementation look like this for a company that I believe, in your case, has something like, what is it, just over 100 employees, 190 employees?
194 team members at the moment, and Will, thanks for having me on this morning. And no, it's not feasible at all. You know, in the midst of all of the troubles facing small business owners today, just finding team members and retaining team members in a highly competitive market, and the federal government wants to turn me into an enforcement arm of the government to enforce a policy that's highly controversial. And well, I've already had some key team members tell me that if we enforce a policy, they're gone.
Oh, I bet. And as you pointed out, so importantly, by the way, this is at a time when you're having trouble retaining and finding new employees anyway. Laura, talk to me about Dickies. A little different situation, 5,000 employees. This is quite a logistical feat to start saying weekly testing. And by the way, processing religious exemptions, all sorts of hurdles when it comes to running what you're supposed to be doing, which is running a barbecue business.
Right, running restaurants and serving folks and making sure that folks have an alternative to grocery stores. If we remember during the height of the pandemic that couldn't keep up with demand, we need restaurants to supply folks with that alternative for just, basic food. And we are extremely challenged and pinched on the labor force. And so I look at this across all of our restaurants, the logistical night, but it's another barrier between me and an employee that truly wants to work, where we are already struggling for labor, for folks. What we really need the government to do is to say it's time to get back to work. It is time to get back in school. Go back to contributing. And instead, they are asking me to stand between an employee and their paycheck. When I read the mandate, I honestly thought it was a mistake because there are religious exemptions, there are health exemptions. I could accept a vaccine card, or I could accept an employee that writes out a sworn note that they're vaccinated. And so how is that not just dinner theater? It makes no sense, but yet it is asking me to have access to my employees' private health records and stand between them and a paycheck if they don't agree. It doesn't make sense.
Laura, really
and
quickly,
the logistics of it are just overwhelming.
Well, really quickly, Laura, then what do you expect will happen? Come the deadline, you have a big workforce. What will your workforce look like after the mandate is in effect?
So again, it's putting folks in that position to either, possibly not be candid, which, is a terrible situation, or to walk away from their jobs if they truly feel that that's not in their best interest.
I can't imagine.
And so that will have a huge ripple effect because, again, we're having trouble truly staffing to meet basic demand as it is. So that will pull folks out of the restaurant, out of our corporate office here in Dallas that has over 200 folks. That would absolutely put pressure. And we're already seeing all of that pressure, which impacts, everything from an inflation standpoint is labor-based. It's that shortage. So it's not only impacting service, it's impacting all parts of the business.
What we've seen happen in the airline industry, soon coming to barbecue, coming to every aspect of our economy. Last word to you, James. I've seen this point made. I find it fascinating. Back to your situation with 190 employees. There are some corporations who are not opposed to this mandate because it's actually a barrier to entry. It is a competitive pressure against smaller employers like yourself. It becomes anti-competitive. Big business and big government actually supporting the same type of policies that punish small businesses and the individual.
I find it so curious. What is so magical about the number 100?
Right.
I wish somebody could explain to me why it's 100 and above. If you have less than 100, somehow those people are not important. I am very suspicious of that number 100 and kind of what's behind it. But I just feel for the tens of millions of Americans, and my brother being in the military, one of them, having to walk away from a job of 25 years, from a career, from a trade and a skill that he's learned and honed, and really difficult to find somewhere else. It's not a position that the government has any place in putting people in. I'm a creator, I'm an inventor, I'm a motivator, a leader. I have no business being an enforcer of this policy. And I'm just not going to be put, and some people say, well, maybe you should divide the company into two parts. And no, it's not a time to stand down, it's a time to stand up, and I hope that small business owners everywhere throughout this country will join me in taking a stand.
Very well said, both
mandate.
of you. I'm sorry I'm tied against time, but very well said. James Crocker, Laura Ray Dickey, thank you both for telling us about your situation this morning. Thank you. Far left Democrats vote